Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel L. Connon. Welcome to Pre-Market Info.
Well, we're going to start with the big gun Facebook reporting earnings after the bell last night. It has been a wild ride for shareholders here. They reported 17 cents against estimates of 15. They beat actually on the top line and the bottom line. The top line they beat 1.59 billion versus 1.53 billion, but initially it wasn't good enough. Stock sold off, believe it or not, got down to 27.90 after the report. So spiked way down and then started going into rally mode and slowly rallied, got all the way back up to flat and then started to sell off again. And now it's down just about $2 here this morning, trading 29.58. Multiple downgrades on the stock. Citigroup downgrading it, Jefferies downgrading it, Stifel Nicolaus downgrading it. So lots of analysts talking about Facebook here. What's Joel's take?
Joel's take. Well, you did get a spike in the pre-market up to 32.17. That's been the high.
That was right after the report. Yeah.
Yep, that was right after the report. This big bar here. Also, you had the low at 27.90, and now you're just kind of consolidating around the $30 level. I think we have to go to the daily charts here to get a good perspective on this stock. The highs of the move have been over the $32 level. 32.51 is a level that we hit on Monday. It doesn't look like that's going to come into play today. Let's use yesterday's low. That's still quite a ways away. 30.88 to fill the gap. That's going to be your resistance point.
If you
Looking
go
a
out to
little
a
bit
three,
tight.
I was going to say, if you go out to a 3 month chart there, Joel, there was this old area here where we had some support and resistance. So for some reason, the chart's not looking that great on that. But regardless, you can go back to the other chart. You had an old resistance area too. I was going to say in the 28, 24, 28. That was the upper end of the area. It was 28.78, and
Yep.
obviously we did cut through there, but we did get into that area and bounce last night.
Yep, that was the area that we did break through there when we went up to the $32 level. So 28.75 looked at that to be your minor support in Facebook.
And obviously, we got to look at the after-hours settlement there. So go back to the pre-market chart so we can see that one more time. Obviously, where we settled was around the 31 area. We did get back up to there after hours. So after it had spiked to the initial spike down, we were down over 10%. We spiked back up to flat. So you know there's major resistance when you start getting up into that 31 area. But use the pre-market, trading as your reference points there. 27.90 was the low overnight. Obviously, if we get down to that area, we're right in the middle of the trading range. If we get down to that area, you're going to probably find some buyers.
Yeah,
Qualcomm.
final note on that, Dennis. Since everything has calmed down a little bit after the earnings, the morning trading here is finding good support at 29. You have these multiple lows here and resistance at 30. So starting to settle in there. Over 5 million shares have traded as well.
Qualcomm reported earnings too. Stock flying after the report there last night. Buck 26 against estimates of $1.12. They raised 2013 guidance up to 425 to 445. Estimates were down at 431. Qualcomm looks like they're doing everything right. Stock breaking out here. Is this a new 52-week high for Qualcomm?
Well, $68 is what we've hit in the pre-market. Going to a longer-term chart here. The recent highs were at 68.57, so we haven't quite got up to that level yet. Looking at the daily, breaking out here, right here is that 68.57 level. Have to keep an eye on the pre-market high, which is 68. That's your resistance point. Since hitting the 68, we've pulled back to the 66.60 level. So I would use that if you're playing this long off the open. It breaks below that 66.60 level. You have some real estate on the downside.
There's just a ton of stocks that reported here, so we are going to fly through them today. Las Vegas Sands reported last night too. That stock is up as well. They actually missed earnings, 54 cents against estimates of 59. That's a little blip down that you see on the chart right after the report. But then they read they're increasing the dividend up to the quarterly dividends going up to 35 cents from 25 cents. You know how these investors love their dividends. Stock actually really started to fly after they've really started digesting this report here, and and they actually beat on revenue too, 3.08 billion versus 3.01 billion. So despite missing on the bottom line, lots of good things to find in that report, and the stock did spike up over $55 after hours.
Yeah, 55.44 is the pre-market high. Been finding support, minor support that is, at the $54 level. So those are your early parameters in Las Vegas Sands. Notice 21,000 shares have traded. So big move for a pretty thick stock. Not a lot of volume.
JDS Uniphase reported last night too. That stock is trading a bit higher here as well, actually significantly higher. You can see after the report, just been straight up pretty much since then. 18 cents versus 14 cents. They beat on revenue too, 429 million against 424. So everything looking good there at JDS Uniphase. But I want to highlight a key technical number. If you go back into April and early January, we had highs in the $15 area, 3-4 tops up there. We're obviously still 90 cents away from there here, or an early trade. But if this stock continues to rally, there is major resistance up there around 15.
Yeah, I think you're kind of overshooting for another buck rally in this stock. I think we're going to struggle here at the 14.29 level. That was the high on January 7th. That's your resistance. And then if you go to the pre-market activity in the stock, you exceeded that level by a little bit, up to 14.40. So I'm looking for major resistance at 14.29 to 14.40 ahead of Dennis's number at 15.
Lots reported here this morning too. MasterCard's your big one, and wow, they do everything right over at MasterCard. They beat 486 against estimates of 481. They beat on the top line, 1.9 billion versus 1.89 billion. Stock has just been flying ever since they reported just at 8 o'clock right on the button. So in the last 20 minutes, this stock is up at 20 points. And it's approaching and breaking out to a new 52 weekend all-time high here. The old high 532.47. It is taking that out here this morning.
Yeah, that will be your support. So far in the pre-market, just
Like
a
a
few
swing number.
seconds ago, we've hit the 536 level. 46,000 shares have traded. Getting a longer-term perspective on this chart there. There it is, folks. You should own your credit card. You have to give it to Barron's. A couple weeks ago, they had talked
Go
about
out to a
how,
daily on that, Joel. I don't know why it's missing some data on that one. It's 2010. There you go.
yeah, boy,
I don't know what
not
the
much
chart.
you can say about that chart.
This chart is just straight up. Obviously, these credit card companies have had just been on a roll forever. It feels like. Just a fantastic company, obviously doing everything right. The 532 number that you just talked about, use that. I would use that maybe for a swing number. Obviously, starts cutting back through that area, and we know there's just air below it too. A couple other big ones that reported here. We've got Dow Chemical reported DOW. They missed by a penny, 33 cents against estimates of 34. It had a hell of a run up into this earnings report. It basically has been up for the better part of the month, and now the stock actually is selling off here pre-market down over a buck.
Yeah, we just hit 33 in the pre-market. You see when the news came out, started at 34, headed down. Not a lot of volume trading on this one, so keep an eye on that parameter there, the 33 low. That could be a support point. Going to the dailies, this stock did have a low at the 33.02 and 33.04 level at the beginning of the year. Below that, the 32 handle looks kind of scary, but use 33 as major
I
support.
think you'll find some support here in the 33 area too. We are approaching a 40 cents away from there in the pre-market. It might drift down there, and I think you might find some areas of support in that area. Under Armour UA also reported. Here's one that's trading up about $2. Reported 47 cents against estimates of 46 cents. They beat on the top line 506 million versus 498 million. So that's got Under Armour trading up here in the early trade.
Yeah, 51.22 is what we've hit in the pre-market. Pulled back a little bit to the $50 area. Looking at the dailies here,
Look at the
you
spike.
had
Yep.
this.
That little
Yeah, you had this here 51.30, and you got the 51 high in the pre-market. So keep an eye on those levels. This looks like it's just it's been selling off pretty hard, and now it's getting a bounce. It'll be interesting to see if people sell into it.
Potash, POT, also reported earnings 52 cents against estimates of 57, so a pretty big miss there. Q1, they actually see it lower to 50 cents to 65. Estimates were up at 68, so no good news for Potash shareholders. Stock trading down, very light volume, only 3,000 shares have traded thus far, but is trading down into a critical area. We're at 41.75, and about 5 trading sessions ago we bottomed out at 41.48 and 41.52, so it's kind of a double bottom as we're approaching that 41.5, but with such a big miss, if it takes that level out, I'd get real nervous.
Yep, not a lot of volume here. Once again, only a couple thousand shares have traded. You did have three lows, Dennis. You nailed it, 41.48 to 41.53. So we are going to keep an eye on that level in the pre-market and also when stocks open for regular trading.
UPS reported earnings $1.32 against $1.38, so they missed by 6 cents. A few companies missing here this morning. 480 to 506 is where they see the full year. The estimates are at 513, so not looking from a good from a guidance perspective either. Stock is selling off fairly significantly here on the report, trading down now $1.50 at 79.75.
That low in the pre-market, 79.28. They did not like this. Getting a little bounce up here to 79.75 on 50,000 shares. Going to the daily charts here, the stock has had a heck of a run, and now it's starting to give it back. The 79 even was the level on the 16th. Use that perhaps to cover a short if we get there during the regular session.
Pulte Home PHM, one of your home builders, reported earnings this morning. 15 cents against estimates of 30, so a huge miss for Pulte Home. Revenues were okay though, 1.57 billion versus 1.5 billion, so that might be helping the stock a little bit because it's only trading down 50 cents on a pretty big earnings miss. Obviously, the stock had been consolidating here for a couple of days, and we're breaking down now below that consolidation area.
Yeah, you had, boy, a whole host of lows here at 2070 to 2090. You actually have five lows in that area. That will be major resistance now if we come back up and get a little bit more of a reprieve in this. Looking at the pre-market, you did get a spike down to 2010, so that's going to be minor support. Below the 2010, you have to look at the dailies here. Once you take out that 2010 level, you're getting quite a bit of air, Dennis. You had a big up day on January 17th from 1958 to 2054. So under 20 could be looking at 1960.
Auto Nation CEO was just actually on CNBC a few minutes ago. They actually did report earnings too, 67 versus 63. Revenue $4.2 billion against estimates of $3.94 billion, so a huge beat on the top line. That's got AN trading up significantly higher here. 46.5 is where it's at right now in the pre-market. Closed at 44.75. Here's one of those stocks that's had a really nice run up too. It was down at $39 when we started 2013. Has run up $6 in the year. Now it's getting another $2. But there is a huge area of resistance up at 48. So for whatever reason this thing continued to rally, I think you find major resistance up in that 48 area.
Yeah, that would be another $1.50 from here. You had a high. Yeah, anything's doable in this market.
I know. It really is. Anything's doable in this market.
48.15 was the high on October 24th. I don't think it's going to get there today, but like you said, anything can happen. Looking at the pre-market activity, just spotty trades here at 46.5. That's your only reference point.
MO also reported here stock trading just up a bit. They actually missed by a penny. Oh no, I've got them beating by a penny, sorry. 55 versus 54. Stock is trading up a little bit here, 12 cents, but really not a lot of trading action on this one either. 5,800 shares, $34 looks huge to me. I think you get up in these 33.90s. I think you're going to find resistance there from your high freaks. I think they're probably leaning on some institutional seller in the 34 area. So it wouldn't surprise me if this thing tries to top out an early trade in the 33.90s.
Yep, that's backed up. The 33.97 high is what you had on December 3rd. You had a 33.93 high the day before that. So good. That 34 area looks tough. Even if you get through there, you have some other tops. Looking at the pre-market, there's not a lot going on in the issue. So we'll keep an eye on 34. The spike down in the low in the pre-market. If you're shorting this thing off the hop, 33.70 has been the pre-market low. And looking at the dailies, you have a double bottom at 33.60 to 33.65.
Okay, there has been so many earnings. Let's just stop with the earnings. There's just too many to
Yeah, it's driving me
report.
crazy.
Yeah, we're trying to get us all the big ones in for you. Lots of other companies report, so make sure you check your earnings calendar, know if your stock's reported, but we just don't have time to go through them all today. RIM, RIMM. Obviously, that was the introduction of the BlackBerry 10 yesterday. Stock actually got just murdered once they actually showed the thing. It was trading up around 1640, and then they came out and the guy says, "Aren't they beautiful?" Like, CEO just was not speaking well there. Ben Zinga was pointing that out too. Aren't they beautiful? And he's looking there, and obviously the market didn't think so, and they just started whacking the stock, and they just absolutely punished it after the report. It went from 1630 down to the 14 area, closed on the low at 1378, and look at it this morning. They're still selling it here this morning. It's down another 78 cents at 12.99. Wow, that is not good for RIM. or,
Nope, nope. Rim's getting the old rim job here, though we are starting to find some minor support here. We made a 1288 low in the pre-market, starting to bounce back above 13. So perhaps some underwater shorts are taking this opportunity. Looking at the dailies, I don't see a lot
Nothing
here
in there.
at the $13 level. So perhaps is someone using the round number to lighten up a position. I still would use that as a swing number. You got a long ways to go back up to yesterday's high at 13.7 or yesterday's low 13.72. So that will be major resistance. Like I said, below this $13 level, there's just not a lot of support going down to under 12.
Yeah, we had that big gap up day on the 10th, or was it? Yeah, the 11th actually, where we went from 1168 up to 1359. So you basically got that big move up in one day. Stocks go up quickly through an area, they can go down quickly through that same area. It is holding. You obviously, as you start to approach and get down to that 12 area where there is some major support, you might have some people shorting this that are short this stock, and they probably try to start bringing it in the 12s. So it wouldn't surprise me if we do start to find a few buyers in the 12s, but there's no real major support until you get down in that $12 area. But scary here, when you introduce your long-awaited product and they just come out and beat the crap out of the stock when they see it, the moment they see it. So, not good news for RIM. Apple, we didn't talk about it yesterday, so we should do a technical on it here today. Stock just trading down $1 here in early trade, but interesting chart formation forming on Apple. Maybe you can go out just to a 3-month chart, Joel, just so I can get a little more detail there on that chart. Actually, you went farther out and don't need to see the years. We know Apple's went out. Can you go out to like a 2-month or a 3-month chart, or even from a 5-day chart there? Putting you on the spot here on these new technicals. Okay, well that's
This
gonna
is
have
the
to
best chart you're getting.
That's
Deal
the
with
best
it.
chart I'm getting. What I want to highlight, there was a double bottom put in place of 435. We had a 435 closing low on Friday on the 25th, and then on the 28th, the bottom was 435.86. Now we've went up and we've rallied 20 points from there, and we've had 2 days of consolidation. It
Yep.
almost looks a little bit like a little potential cup and handle starting to form, which could be a bullish sign. I would love to see this stock get above 465.73. That was the high on the 24th, the day after they reported the earnings miss. If it starts to get above that area, there is an enormous gap from 465 up to the $508 area. So obviously, if you can get into that area, then we could start to find a little bit of, maybe find some momentum to try to, continue this rally.
Yeah, two 8-point ranges in Apple last two trading days. Very unusual. Two lows, 452.12 and 454.50. So if you are playing this from the long side below 452, you could be in a little bit of trouble. Coming back on the upside, you pointed out 62.60. I only see that as minor resistance. And then you go up to the earnings day. The high was 465.73. And then you got a huge gap to fill. But it seems like when this thing rallies, it just doesn't sound like, it just doesn't have the rip-roaring effect that it did obviously on this ascent to 705.
But there is some people that are still short this stock, and if it started to get above that 465, those shorts could get nervous, and you could start a little bit of a squeeze. That's where it needs to get above. Really, for me to get bullish the stock, I want to see it start getting above and closing at least above that 465 area. That's the key bogey, just from my technical perspective. We're running low on time here, Joel. Let's do an overall on the market here. Obviously, you've highlighted this 1491 area as being major support. It was backed up in the after-hours session. We got down to 1491 and a quarter overnight. So we are finding some major support here in this 1491 area.
Yeah, you did have a double bottom there. Yes, previous 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. You couldn't quite get there yesterday. 1491, the low in the pre-market. You have to stay bullish until we take out that level, and could get some good downside action down to 1486 as that level does not hold. I'm going to stop the recording here. We got a host of questions that I want to try and get to. That's our show, and
We'll be back with
to
you
answer
guys.
the questions in 1 second.